Hey, good morning. Good morning. Oh, I just realized I don't have my lights on here. That's a mistake because then I don't show up as well. I got to do that. It's the technical stuff that we sometimes forget, like getting coffee. Hey, good morning. Wow. This is Coffee Breaks with Steve, and I'm Steve. And good morning, Shalane. Shalane Shepherd is here. Shalane Shepherd should be here. She's a producer on the show. So, it gets a little bit, I get a little bit nervous if the there's not many everybody's here yet. At least they're not saying hello yet. If you are tuning in live for the show this morning, this is Saturday, April 3rd, 2021. It's 9:30 in the morning Pacific time. Wherever you, oh, look, there's my friend Kim Baker. Good meowing and happy Saturday. Thank you, Kim. I look for that on these broadcasts. I look for that on Saturday mornings. Hi, Kathy Glavin. Good morning to you. If you are tuning in live, welcome. Make sure you do say hi in the chat so that we know that you're here. I want you to make sure that you're participating in the conversation this morning. Hi, Carla. If you're tuning in later on Facebook or YouTube, we are actually now posting to YouTube as well. Please go ahead as well and make comments. I'm not sure if you can do that on the YouTube side, but I know you can on the Facebook side. So if you're watching live, say hello now, as Rick did, and Scott and Amy and Corey Ann. Hello to all of you. And if you're tuning in later, do make sure you make comments so that we know that you were here. I know that there are people who come in and watch this later on. I hear from them, but it's always fun to hear what people have to say later on. Hey, it's spring now. We're into spring, and I don't know what the weather's like. I know if you're on the eastern half of the United States, there's still been some pretty severe weather. But I know around here we're starting to see the spring-like weather. Hi, Kirsten. Good morning, Jerry Thompson. Good morning to you. And yeah, it's we actually had some days in the middle of this last week that got up into the high 80s, around 90 degrees, which that happens in California this time of year. It's still a little bit unusual, but we start to see those days. It's more typically, we are starting to get more consistently in the 70s, mid to sometimes upper 70s, and a little more consistent, nice weather around here. So what's the weather like where you're at? What are you dealing with at this point? I know that it still gets very back and forth between winter type weather and spring type weather in some areas of the country, but what are you dealing with right now? And 91, that's your Southern California area, right, Kim Baker? So 91 degrees this last week, probably. Yeah, and 61 degrees currently, Kirsten says, in Utah. Got my iced coffee. I've got my hot coffee this morning, even though I know it's going to be warmer weather later on. I always have to start the morning with the hot coffee. I can go to iced coffee later in the day. All right, special days this week. We have tomorrow is Easter Sunday. You probably already knew that. However, you celebrate the particular holiday. For some people, it's just it has been traditionally it's a family time, and curious as to whether you're going to be able to do anything with family this year, or go to, some people do like a community Easter egg hunt, something of that nature. And in fact, I know that our director, Carissa, who is usually here today, is not here today because she and her daughters are doing their community Easter egg hunt. Doing it, I think they still have to wear masks, and there's probably still some distancing, but they got to do that this year. I don't know if they got to last year. Family dinners, get-togethers with family. Are you able to do that this year? Church services, very, very big deal for Easter Sunday. So I was curious about who gets to do what. Glancing at some of the comments that are going on right now. Yeah, still a lot about weather. What do you have planned for this weekend, if anything? Spring break for a lot of people who are in school, either last week or this coming week. And I've mentioned this before, but to me, it's still kind of odd when spring breaks occur. Because when I grew up, at least I think this has always been different in different areas of the country. But when I grew up in the Portland, Oregon area, spring break wasn't tied to the Easter time, which it seems to be more consistently now in a lot of the schools. But when I was growing up, spring break was always mid-March. It was like the third week in March was always spring break for the schools. And all the schools, I think, were pretty much on the same schedule in our region. Different school districts didn't seem to have this diversity of when spring break took place. And that happens a lot around here. I know where I live right now, there are probably just within a shouting distance, 3 or 4 different school districts at least. And I don't know that any of them are on the same schedule for the start of the school year, spring break, or the end of the school year. Hi, Lila. Good to see you on here. If I've not said hello to you yet, haven't seen you on here, make sure you say hello. Make comments in the chat. Want you to be a part of the conversation today. So tomorrow's Easter Sunday. The 6th of April, this next week, is National Tartan Day. So if you have any kind of Scottish roots, or you get involved in some of the Scottish rite ceremonies or anything like that, the reason that April 6th is Tartan Day, when you're supposed to wear your tartan, even if you're not Scottish, you can wear tartan. It's just fun. Wear a kilt, do whatever you want to. But the reason is that April 6th marks the date of Scottish independence in 1320. So and the National Tartan Day was being celebrated like there were parades in New York. Of course, in areas where you had a high Celtic population, Tartan Day would be a big deal. And then it actually did become, at some point, I don't have the information right in front of me now, but when I was looking this up, it did become a national day at some point. I think an act of Congress to say, yeah, let's recognize National Tartan Day. I don't think anybody in the Senate or the House is walking around in kilts on that day, but I think they're on break, in fact, in Congress. So it's like, yeah, go ahead, do what you want to. We're not going to be here anyway. And then April 7th is World Health Day. And it's by the WHO, the World Health Organization. That date every year, April 7th, is a date when they kind of, I think, introduced the theme for the coming year, what the health theme is going to be. And I believe this year when I looked, it has to do with health and conservation. It had to do with a healthy earth. Look, we're coming off of still in a year when health has been a major topic, a major factor. So we know that these types of things are important. We're going to be talking about health a little bit today. We're going to be talking about sleep and sleep habits and how it's tied to health, how it's tied to physical, mental, emotional, even whatever kind of health that you may need to still enjoy. And then April 7th as well, even though she's not on here right at the moment, because of taking her daughters for the Easter egg hunt, I want to wish a very, very happy birthday to Carissa. Carissa Wheelock, happy birthday on April 7th. Carissa is my daughter. And the year that she was born, Easter moving from date to date, she was actually born on Easter Sunday. April 7th was Easter, the year that Carissa was born. So we said that she was our little Easter bunny. Isn't that cute that we would say that? Anyway, continue to say hello, Debbie Stout. Good morning to you. If there's anybody else who's come on here, did I say hello to Carla? I may or may not have. But yeah, those are the key days. Hey, if you've got a special day coming up this week that I didn't mention, drop it in the chat so that we know and we can celebrate with you. If you've got a special day coming up in the month of April that you want to make sure that we mention on Coffee Breaks with Steve and the appropriate week, send me a message. Let me know that it's coming up so we make sure we include it. All right, listen, we're all trying to still wake up a little bit this morning, maybe. So a little sip of coffee. Shalane, go ahead and call it. Everybody drink, right? Sleep habits, sleep benefits, sleep issues. And I want your comments on this. I really want to know your thoughts about things. First of all, here's the first thing you can respond to. Are you an early to bed person or a night owl? Are you one of those people that's like it hits a certain point in the night and everybody else may still be going or not, but you're like, okay, this is my bedtime. You know, you said, why is she always the favorite? I said hello to you, Scott, didn't I? Did I not say hello to Carla? I said hello to Scott. I said hello to Kathy. I think I've said hello to everybody. So don't know my case. All right. Sleep habits. Are you an early to bed person or are you a night owl? Are you one of those people who you need to get to bed early? Maybe it's because you get up very early. Are you one of those people who like you stretch it out a little bit and you have a pretty late bedtime? It's funny because Carol and I have struggled with this throughout our marriage. She is more of an early to bed person. She may occasionally stay up later, but she hits a point and it's usually somewhere about 9 o'clock, maybe a little bit later where she's like, that's it, I'm done. And she's got to get to bed. I am much more a night owl. If I try to go to bed too early, I'll just lay there and my brain starts going on work the next day or whatever, and then I'm more restless than not. So I'm more of a night owl. Are you a person who, when you go to bed, do you fall asleep easily, or do you find that you lay in bed awake for a while, you toss and turn, that insomnia thing, or do you wake up frequently during the night? I found as I get older, I do wake up more frequently during the night. I think it is tied to age somewhat. But how many hours a night do you typically sleep? What do you need? What is for you is a good night's sleep in order to be refreshed the next day? We're going to talk about what the experts say about all of these things in a few minutes. But how about dreams? Do you remember your dreams? Do you find that dreams are more of just a process of the phases of your sleep, or are they part of the interruption to your sleep? Just curious as to what that how that impacts you, and whether that has changed over time. Either just because of changes in age or lifestyle or work, because there are also people who your sleep habits may be tied to work schedules. People who work a swing shift or a graveyard shift may have to deal with entirely different patterns, and that can be affected by a lot of things because our biological clocks are tied to, I'm trying to remember the term now. Somebody can put it in here for me. But the sunlight, and when sunlight and darkness occur, and certain my mind's blank. I need another sip of coffee. Everybody drink. Oh, I love some of the comments I'm already seeing here. And Corianne, you asked about naps on the post about this the other day. And nap better in a kilt though must be, oh man. But are you a person who needs to have those times during the day, maybe a power nap, or you take a nap during the day, and how does that affect you? If I take a nap, I don't know, I could probably get away with doing power nap types of things where maybe I stopped and did a 10-minute or 15-minute. It's not part of my routine though. And the times when I have been tired during the day for one reason or another, and I take a nap, it messes me up the rest of the day. It messes up. Once I get up from the nap, I'm disoriented and I don't sleep well that night. It's almost like having jet lag. And that's another thing that can affect you. What if you're traveling to different time zones? What if you have a different schedule? So this information that I've got here is printed from the, was it the World Health? No, it was Health and Human Services, the United States Health and Human Services site, which is health.gov, had this information about sleep. I wanted to share with you, and I'm not going to read all of it, but I'm going to hit some highlights. It says most adults, and we know a lot of this we've heard before, right? It says that most adults need 7 to 8 hours of good quality sleep on a regular schedule each night. Making changes to your routine can, if you're having trouble with what they're saying, make changes to your routine if you can't find enough time to sleep. In other words, they're saying prioritize it, take other things out. Getting enough sleep isn't only about total hours of sleep. It's also important to get good quality sleep on a regular schedule so you feel rested when you wake up. And it even talks about if this consistently becomes an issue and you're still feeling tired after sleeping or whatever, talk to your doctor, because it could be things like a sleep disorder, sleep apnea, or other things, disorders that not only is that affecting your alertness because of the lack of sleep, that can actually be tied to other health issues. How much sleep do children need? Teens need 8 to 10 hours. School-age children need 9 to 12 hours. Preschoolers, 10 to 13. Toddlers, between 11 and 14. Babies, 12 and 16. Also, koala bears and sloths would fit in there someplace. Health benefits. Why is getting enough sleep important? Benefits. It can help you get sick less often. We know that letting your body sleep is tied to bolstering your immune system. Stay at a healthy weight. Lower your risk for serious health problems like diabetes and heart disease. Reduce stress. Improve your mood. Think more clearly and do better in school or at work. Get along better with people, right? When we're too tired, our patience, I know with me, if I'm fatigued, if I'm too tired, my patience level is affected, and it affects how I respond and react to people. Make good decisions, avoid injuries. For example, sleepy drivers cause thousands of accidents each year. People who fall asleep at the wheel, it's not just if you fall asleep. Drowsiness can change your reaction time or your observation, right? Does it matter when I sleep? Yes, your body sets your biological clock according to the pattern of daylight where you live. This helps you naturally get sleepy at night and stay alert during the day. If you have to work at night and sleep during the day, you may have trouble getting enough sleep. And talking about traveling to different time zones, I don't have them here, but on that site, the Health and Human Services site that talks about sleep, they have additional links that talk about what to do if you work night shifts and dealing with jet lag. If you ever travel to another time zone, particularly if you go to another country where you're talking about a drastic change, one of the things they say is immediately that first day and two, force yourself to get on the new time schedule. Like we've traveled to Europe. You get to Europe first of all, after being on a plane probably all night. And one of the things that your body does is say, okay, it's nighttime back home, go to sleep. And it could be daytime where you're at. What they say to do is force yourself to get on the new time zone clock. Stay active during that day and get into the process of falling asleep that night. Still going to take you a couple of days to adjust, but and then it talks about different things, reasons why you may have trouble falling asleep, including stress or anxiety, pain, certain health conditions, certain medication, caffeine. For many years, I could drink caffeinated coffee until well into the evening and not have any trouble falling asleep. Carol has always needed to adjust to from caffeinated to decaffeinated, and then later in the evening probably just get away from coffee or any caffeinated drink altogether. But yeah, and Scott, you're mentioning you're getting ready to go to Hawaii and wondering if the 3-hour difference will have an effect. It tends to. I mean, I've traveled even, you think about even if you travel a time zone or two away in the continental United States, it can affect it. It tends to, I think more people say, well, tell me what you've experienced, but traveling, if you gain time, like traveling west is not as problematic as traveling east. No, I think it just depends on where you're going and when you come back. I think it's always going to affect you. Then there's a section here. I'm not going to talk about sleep disorders, but it talks about different things that can happen. And talking about different things that you can do if you have trouble getting to sleep. Some of the things they talk about is changing some of your habits even during the day, not just at night, but getting out, getting some fresh air during the day, getting some exercise, physical activity, staying away from caffeine later in the day, limiting daytime naps to more of a power nap if you have trouble sleeping at night. If you drink alcohol, drink only in moderation. We sometimes think, well, if I'm having trouble, some people do self-medicate. They drink alcohol later at night because they think it helps them relax. It can actually have the opposite effect. Don't eat a big meal close to bedtime. If you smoke, quit smoking. Nicotine and cigarettes can help make it harder for you to get to sleep. And then nighttime habits. They talk about making sure the bedroom is dark, putting up light blocking curtains if you need to. Keep your bedroom quiet. Oh, this is one of the biggies that's become more of an impact in modern times is electronic devices, whether it's watching TV or being on a computer, particularly now we have these smartphones and tablets. And sometimes we're doing things, even we go to bed and we may be reading from those, but the light from those, the type of light that creates can actually affect you and make it harder to go to sleep. So, yeah, so a lot of good comments here, but I am curious about what do you do even to get ready for bed? What are some of your get ready for bed habits that are part of those routines that maybe help you get to bed and get to sleep? I think about certain things. Certain people go through a certain routine starting at a certain point at night. When do you wait until just before you go to bed to put your jammies on? If you sleep in jammies, I don't need prurient details if you don't necessarily use pajamas or you have certain, but some people, another thing that is often talked about, I don't remember if it was on here, but they talk about setting a typical pattern. Try to go to bed at the same time each night. They also talk about keeping your room or your house cooler at night. You actually sleep better if you're cool than if you're overheated. And if keeping it cool means that you tend to get chilly, you can always throw an extra comforter or blanket on, right? Or wear long sleeve and long pants, pajamas, or whatever you need to do. But it's just opportunities to think about how we can remember that sleep is an important part of health. It's an important part of being able to function. And I think about even during this last year when we have been a little more isolated in many cases, some of our other routines have been interrupted. And it can be easier. I find that I do this sometimes, not all the time, but I did this last week. There were a couple of times, even late at night, something popped into my head about work. And in olden days, I might check something. I might have my work email or something on my phone, and that's a bad habit too. But because I'm working from home and I have an office set up for work in the next room from where I'm sitting at night, I got up a couple of times. I got up even late at night after 10 o'clock. One point, I actually sent a message to somebody. I looked something up and sent a message to somebody after 11 o'clock. And I kind of got my hand slapped the next day by my boss, just not really chastising me, just reminding me that, you know, it's good to break away and not be doing that stuff late at night. But it's kind of easier to do that right now. It's more of a temptation, and it's not healthy. I mean, I'm the first one to say that probably wasn't a good idea. One of the things that's also on that HHS site that I wanted to share with you, they have links. They have a lot of different areas besides just talking about sleep. That the Health and Human Services site, health.gov, it's not glove, it's gov. Hang on. Health.gov has a lot of resources that may be helpful. But, oh, and by the way, I wanted to comment on something here because we were talking about the using computers or phones at night, and Kirsten mentioned on here that Kim mentioned, it looks like, blue light filter on devices helps. You can also get, I don't have them, I thought I had them in, I think they're in my briefcase right now, but you can also get glasses that have a filter that you can put on while you're using your computer, while you're using your device, that filters out the blue light. And it's that blue light that tends to have an effect that can keep you from falling asleep at night. It can also cause headaches and stuff during the day. So it can be helpful just to have those filters or have those glasses. One of the things that HHS recommends, and actually I downloaded this, they have a link on the sleep site to this, is a sample sleep diaries. Is one of the best ways you can tell if you're getting good enough good quality sleep and whether you have signs of sleep disorders is by keeping a sleep diary. And this is a sample diary that they provide from their site. You can print off and you can fill in yourself. And I don't necessarily think everybody needs to do this. You don't necessarily need to add another thing to your day if you don't need it. But if you struggle, if you have concerns or questions about the quality of your sleep, maybe it's something you can do. And maybe it's a way to improve your health. It also, for a lot of us, a lot of people I know on here live alone. And that can either be a benefit or a detriment to trying to maintain good sleep habits. Sometimes, I say, if you got kids, if you got other people living in your house, sometimes you're working on different schedules, you're doing different things. There can be things that make it more difficult for you to go to sleep early. I'm always trying to be conscious if Carol does go to bed before I do, to make sure that I'm toning down TV or computer if I'm on the computer, or not stomping around the house, being conscious of her going to sleep, or if one of us gets up before the other one in the morning, doing the same thing. But sometimes it helps also to have another person there who can help you address things like some of the habits they see. They may be a good resource for saying, I noticed that you drink a lot of caffeine in the evening. Maybe that's a factor. Or let you know if they're hearing, like in Carol's and my case, we've been able to let each other know if we're hearing a lot of snoring or interruptions to breathing in snoring, which might be a sleep disorder, and encourage getting some kind of counsel on that from a doctor, going through a sleep study, finding out if you need to have some additional help with that. So just things to think about. I appreciate all the comments on here. And again, I don't always get to respond to all of them, don't even really see them all in depth while they're happening, but I enjoy them. I go back and I look. I'm asking the questions. I'm looking for your comments because you are part of this conversation. And again, if you're tuning in later on and you're watching this recorded, still want to hear from you, still want to know that you were here, and still want to hear your comments and your ideas and what works for you. You know, we can look at what the experts have to say, and lots of times it's just what we share with each other that becomes part of that aha moment that allows us to be able to move on with what we need to. Okay, stopping to take a breath and grab one more sip here. And look at comments. Yeah, Kirsten mentioned this. Kirsten, by the way, is a health professional. And so when you're seeing things from her, and others of you on here too have a background working in the health field. If you have sleep apnea, she says, get a sleep study. It's so hard on your heart. It is important. Once again, you know, we not only think about the direct effects of getting or not getting enough sleep as being factors, but there are other health things tied to this. We mentioned early on, I read from this report or from this article, diabetes, weight gain, sleep apnea, and weight can be tied to the snoring and the apnea issues too. So those are all, they all tie together. There is not like sleep is mutually exclusive from other factors in your life. It's all part of a healthy lifestyle. So think about that. All right, listen. And Shalane says, I'm a fake health professional. Yeah, it's like, I'm not really a health professional. I just play one on TV. So listen, I want to give you an idea of what's coming up down the road here in the next few weeks with Coffee Breaks with Steve, just so you can be thinking about it. Watch for more information on this. But next week, we're going to have another one of those kind of fun weeks. The topic theme is going to be another time, another place. And I want you to be thinking about this. I'm going to put out some promos ahead of time to get people thinking. But if you could live in another time period, another place, another time in another place, what would you choose and why? If you could be at a point in history where something happened and be an observer or be a participant in that time in history, what would you choose and why? Who would you want to meet at a time in history? And I know that's always one of those sort of esoteric things, because are you saying if I could have been born in another time, or are you saying if I could time travel? Now, we'll talk about that next week. Then in 2 weeks out we're very close to Earth Day. And we're going to have an Earth Day episode, and actually going to have a guest on with me who is an expert and works for a conservancy organization. We're going to talk about what you can be thinking about, what you can do, what are things you can do both during this time of pandemic, when certain activities and community events that may be tied even to conservation have been curtailed or postponed. What can you do for Earth Day? What can you be doing on a regular basis to take care of our planet, to take care of our resources? We're going to talk about that. And then we've got some other cool things coming up through the rest of April and even into the month of May and June. We've got some things that we're already looking at on the calendar. I think are going to be very interesting and a lot of fun. So stick with us. I want to thank you all for being here today. I want to thank you for the comments. I want to thank you for the conversation. You are all a part of this. That you are why I do this every week, every Saturday morning. Quite frankly, I have many other times during the week when I'm on Zoom or I'm on Teams or other sites for meetings. I have plenty of opportunities to talk and to hear myself talk. And I appreciate that you are willing to come back here every week and be a part of this conversation, not to hear me talk, but to communicate and to be a part of us all sharing this information. So thank you. God bless you. If you're celebrating Easter, the resurrection in any way, shape, or form this weekend, please have a happy and joyous and blessed weekend. And as I tell you every week, and just want to say again this week, please find a way to make a difference in your world this week. Thanks for being here. See you soon.